The Haunting of the Possessed Doll. My name is Rebecca, and I never believed in the supernatural until I encountered the horror that lurked within the old antique shop. It all began innocently enough when I stumbled upon a peculiar doll tucked away in a forgotten corner. The doll had a delicate porcelain face with piercing blue eyes that seemed to follow me wherever I went. Its red curls cascaded in perfect ringlets, and its lace-trimmed dress hinted at a long-forgotten era. There was an undeniable aura of darkness surrounding it, yet I felt drawn to its enigmatic presence. Unbeknownst to me, I had unwittingly invited a malevolent force into my life. As soon as I brought the doll home, strange occurrences began to plague my peaceful existence. The air grew heavy with a sense of unease, and I would often wake in the middle of the night to find the doll sitting at the edge of my bed, its eyes fixated upon me. It seemed as if the doll had a life of its own, moving from room to room, always watching, always waiting. I tried to dismiss the unsettling experiences as mere figments of my imagination. But as the days turned into weeks, the presence of the doll became increasingly oppressive. I began to hear whispers, faint and menacing, echoing through the empty corridors of my home. Shadows danced along the walls, contorting into grotesque shapes in the dim light. Night after night, I would lie awake, tormented by nightmares that seemed all too real. In my dreams, the doll would come alive, its porcelain face contorting into a sinister grin. It would creep closer and closer, its tiny hands reaching out to strangle me until I would wake in a cold sweat, gasping for air. Determined to rid myself of this haunting, I decided to investigate the doll's origins. My research led me to a century-old tale of a young girl named Amelia who had possessed the doll in life. Legend had it that Amelia had been consumed by a darkness so deep that it had seeped into the very soul of the doll. Driven by a newfound urgency, I sought the help of a renowned paranormal expert, Dr. Samuel Hawthorne. His rugged demeanor and skeptical nature did little to assuage my fears, but I was desperate for answers. Dr. Hawthorne arrived at my home, armed with an array of equipment to capture any paranormal activity. As we sat in the dimly lit room, the doll seemed to exude an aura of malevolence. Its eyes gleamed with a cruel intelligence, and a chill permeated the air.
We embarked on a series of experiments, hoping to document the doll's supernatural nature. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as we turned on the recording devices, waiting for any sign of the doll's presence. The room fell silent, and then a disembodied voice whispered through the speakers, chilling us to the bone. "Beware, for the darkness seeks to claim your soul." A sense of dread settled over us, but we pressed on, determined to unveil the truth. As we delved deeper into the investigation, the doll's hold over me grew stronger. It toyed with my emotions, manipulating my fears and insecurities. I could no longer distinguish between reality and the doll's malevolent influence. Days turned into weeks, and I grew weaker, both physically and mentally. Dr. Hawthorne, too, seemed affected by the doll's sinister power. The once skeptical man was now plagued by nightmares and an overwhelming sense of despair. As we continued our struggle against the darkness, a breakthrough came in the form of an ancient ritual. We discovered a spell that promised to sever the doll's connection to the world of the living. It required great sacrifice, but the prospect of liberation from this torment pushed us forward. On a moonless night, under the watchful gaze of the possessed doll, we prepared for the ritual. The air crackled with electricity, and the room seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. We chanted the incantation, our voices trembling with desperation. As the final words left our lips, a blinding light filled the room, forcing us to shield our eyes. When the brilliance subsided, the doll lay motionless on the floor, its porcelain face devoid of life. Relief washed over us, mingled with exhaustion and a lingering sense of loss. The doll's malevolence had been vanquished, but its dark legacy would forever haunt our memories. Now, as I look back on that harrowing chapter of my life, I am left with scars that may never fully heal. The possessed doll taught me the terrifying truth that evil can exist in the most innocent of forms. It is a reminder that the boundary between the living and the dead is fragile, and that the darkness can prey upon even the most skeptical of souls. I pray that no one else will fall victim to the curse of the possessed doll, but I fear that its legacy will endure, silently waiting for its next unwitting victim. And if you ever find yourself drawn to a doll with piercing blue eyes, remember my story and beware. The doll's malevolence may be closer than you think.